Well,
I thought you were recording already.
no. Meeting didn't start.
You and your nuts.
The meeting got started. What is it? February
19th.
Can't read my own handwriting.
Welcome to the club,
Welcome
everyone.
to the club. All right, so I have a preliminary website. So once you look at it, you can tell I'm not a web designer. But
I think that was established from the first meeting.
Can I report back on our web designer?
sure.
Who happens to be my cousin and is not answering any of my emails.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, I sent him 3, and he's ignored every single one. And I even went onto Facebook and I said, Christian, are you going to answer me? Nothing.
He's embarrassed. He's ashamed.
He doesn't want to do it, so he doesn't want to say no.
I just want to do it for
But he doesn't want to say no.
He doesn't want to say no. I mean, he's a web designer by profession.
Okay.
He doesn't believe in the movement.
So what do you got? Come on, huh? It's an important meeting.
I think he does believe in the movement, actually. I just think he's got a new girlfriend and he's busy.
Oh,
Busy getting busy.
We understand.
He's 25 years old and 26.
That says everything.
New girlfriend and...
All right, so this is just so I can show you what is possible. This is not. Of course, I need everyone's input. All right, so this is the homepage. So we have like we discussed, we have the our mission statement listed above.
Wow.
We have some little transition using some graphics that I forgot her name that she produced for us. Rena made some graphics, so I just put it over here. So I'm just showing what's possible. Of course, we need to work on this. Just and then these links. I mean, these images you could click on. It could bring you to another link. So if you want to present something interesting, like we could present an image of the rally we had for corporate personhood, the January 21st, for example. We give more information, and we could also embed other images. I don't know, for future events. We could put like little banners, say, join us or whatever. Just an idea of what's possible, right? So this is the homepage. And then, so some of the pages don't work because right now this site is actually running from the computer because we don't have an internet connection. So some of the links go to offsite. Once we click here, we go to projects. So this we can show what we're currently working on or what we have worked on. Like this is the document for people before parties. And when you click on it,
My suggestion was...
it opens up in another window and it displays the people before parties document, which is not complete because we still don't have an icon.
My suggestion was... This is the main screen?
No, this is the homepage right here.
That's the homepage. That's
I'm having trouble seeing it.
Wait, stop moving stuff on?
I have to reload it.
Good job.
Right. So it's...
Where's the homepage?
This is the homepage.
I suggested, instead of putting PAER, put the whole word.
I did.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think that looks much
I like
better.
having the acronym there though also because we do refer to ourselves as PAER so that it makes sense that people know that we use that acronym.
Right.
But I agree that having the words spelled out is nice. Yeah.
What I did.
Yeah.
So this is the homepage, and should I go to the rest of the slide? It's pretty simple, right? So I showed you the projects where we need, we can have links to other sites, to other pages, or we can have a link to a specific document. When you click on events, since we're not connected to the internet, nothing's going to really happen. But this window will actually display the events as listed on the NYCGA events specific site. It's actually a list for the day, for the events. And over here, when you go to the forum, it opens up in a new window. It actually connects you to our forum on the NYCGA website, directly to our forum. There's no Where's the participatory form? Do they have a forum? And subgroups. With a drop-down menu, you can select 3 subgroups right now. If you just select on this, give you a graphical representation of this working groups. So, end corporate personhood, experiment to vote, voting experiment, and constitutional convention, the other working group.
Are those other two working groups actually functioning?
Mm-hmm.
This one, yeah. This one is functioning, and this one is very active, actually. Constitutional convention. They're functioning.
And they see their role as different than in corporate personhood?
They're working on an amendment to initiate a convention, a Comic-Con.
I gathered that.
That's it. That is their... What the amendments will look like is not... They're not concerned with that. They're concerned actually initiating the convention.
That's what I meant. They see their role as different than,
Yeah.
than corporate personhood.
Right. They're not working on what's really wrong. I mean, they have an idea, of course.
Yeah. Cold there, woman.
Obviously. But no, they're not working on it. And About Us, we go to About Us page.
I love this. I'm kidding. It's like a kid with a crayon.
Very simple, right?
Very simple.
About Us. And Contact Us. Right, Contact Us is not going to work because, again, this site is running from my computer because we don't have an internet connection. So I don't have the software. So once it put on the server, it works. When you go to Contact Us, it just gives you some fields you fill out with a message, and that email goes directly to Sam, and he's responsible for.
I haven't gotten it. Well, I haven't gotten anything because it's not up and running yet.
How much
It
time
is.
do you think it would take for somebody who's really savvy with web design to come up with something to present to us?
Well, what do you mean?
Well, because you said that you're not a web designer,
No.
and we would need a web designer.
Well,
I mean, is it something?
I feel like we need one. I don't know about the rest of the group.
What about Rena?
I don't know if she's a web designer. She's not a web designer.
No, she's
She's a
graphic.
graphic artist.
So what? But what? Is it? I literally don't know. Would it take them a week? Would it take them an hour? What? I mean,
It would take because it would be a not trial and error, but you do a little bit, get feedback, do a little bit, get feedback. Depends on how often we can meet with them more than anything. But it's probably only a couple of days worth of work if they knew what they're doing. It's just, I mean, I would think. It's not, because we're not looking for anything too complex. It's very basic. We want a basic website with information and links to where we can...
Is he coming here?
We almost have a quorum.
There's my foot. God.
So
Snap it right off.
we can have a web designer and just
God, I thought I'd put this chair down on it.
so we can have a web designer that would just sketch out for us a website on paper, and then I could translate that into actually a website. Or we can have a web designer that actually does coding. There are those types as well.
See, I just think he could do it so quickly, and I wish to God he would. If I can tell him, Christian, it'll take you.
Well, you can't tell him how long it takes because he doesn't even know what he needs yet. So the site, originally why we created the site was to present content because nycga.net, you cannot present content. You cannot direct people to nycga.net website and say, look at this document that we produced. Look at this. What do you think? Or, direct them to a video or something like that. You can't do it. So that's why we initially created this website for content.
So, but there is on NYCGA.
.net.
This is a working group.
Right.
So there is one can click there and sign up for this working group. I know
Yes.
because I'm signed up for it.
Yes.
And that's how I did it.
Correct.
But now what you want to do is add to that thing another click where they can go to a website. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. And that website will then tell people that, like me, that clicked and signed up for the working group, look, this is what we're doing, and this is what you can, and every time I go to a meeting, somebody can say, take a look at that before you come, so you have blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so the point of this is to produce information for people that you hope will become active members of the group. Right.
To produce information, for
so now that what?
A location where the content we could post.
Yeah, where it can live. Right. Yeah. So what that comes to my mind is, in fact, does not NYCGA have some kind of a template for their working groups? I mean, other working groups must also have a place where you click and you go to the content.
Okay, so currently NYCGA.net website does not have a way to post content. The only thing
I understand that, but that's
the only thing you can post is the
no, I
text
understood
document.
that perfectly well.
So
what you just said. I'm making
I don't
another
understand
point.
what you mean by
Yeah, that's
that.
what I mean. I know you didn't get my point.
No.
So obviously I did something wrong because I understood perfectly well that piece of it. My point is go past that point that we understand that you can't do it on NYCGA, but you can in fact create a website and NYCGA will carry the link so that. And the point of creating the website is to increase the membership in this group and the participants who are active in changing if you will, the world around electoral politics and electoral reform. So my question was, it seemed to me like a pretty sophisticated website that NYCGA had created.
It is.
Which means somebody, someplace in this world has the skills. So what I said was, doesn't NYCGA have a template that people can use for, it would make sense that a working group should have some form that's sort of similar in terms of the structure. And NYCGA has not produced a template so that a web designer can. Are you saying yes, they have not, or are you saying yes, they have?
No, they have. I don't know that they have.
What?
So
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Because it would make sense to ask them. I mean, they've got the expertise to produce a fabulous thing. You know what I'm saying when I say template, right? If you have a template, you don't have to be all that sophisticated to create the.
Okay, so right now, currently they are using their template. What template they're using right now for website is not sufficient because we have no way of posting content. So right now, this is a website to supplement.
See, you're still not. You're not getting my point.
Let me finish first before we continue further comments. Can I finish first before we continue comments? So right now, I'm working on this site in order to supplement the NYCGA.net website. Currently, they are working on another site. So until that happens, this site might not be needed anymore if they provide content, if they provide a place where we can post content more than just text documents. Now, until that happens, this is supposed to supplement that. Until that happens.
Yeah.
So that is the answer. Okay. That is the template they have. That is the template they're using right now. They're working on another one.
Mm-hmm. But that's not true. I mean, I think the question is the word template. I mean, you're saying that's a template they have.
No, may I get in advice?
Doesn't make any difference.
I've been listening. I just came in, but I hope I understand. And I've been looking at that thing, and I've already.
Yes.
Already.
No. I don't want this to escalate.
NYCGA is reasonably complex, and it has many advantages, and it's a good gateway into what's happening in OWS. However, and it has many layers, and you can go deep into something, and you can be flexible and so on. It has, however, the following limitation. That every group has its own homepage. I wouldn't call it its site, with various layers under it, to its various elements. And the limitation is that it's very, very text-oriented, and there is very little that can be done short of putting in hyperlinks. You put a hyperlink to whatever you want, and all a person has to do is click, but then they are outside the NYCGA, and what do we care? If you will set it up and get the proper content into it, correct?
Into what?
and our own website that can do images
Right.
and so forth.
Present what we need.
However, on our homepage, at the very bottom,
It looks like Dr.
there is a room for a link to your list, to your discussion list, and to your website. So anybody who knows how to look at the homepage can go to the very bottom and immediately click on that, if it exists, and get into our beautiful whatever.
I don't think there exists at this point. NYCGA.net is strictly a text site at this
No,
time.
but there is a place for hyperlink.
There is no.
You can put a hyperlink anywhere.
Correct.
Anywhere. You
Anywhere.
can better hyperlink anywhere.
That's
on
the
site.
point.
Even on NYCGA.
Anywhere.
Correct.
So then, but her
But that's not
question
what-
is there something that we can use that's uniform with all the other groups? Is what I'm.
Look, but the point I was making was, that, use working group, why don't you say to them, well, how about you've got the design thing there? Look, if you've got an overall, or this thing exists, and OWS,
There's nothing like that
people
right now.
understand that. I gather that there's nothing like that. That's what I mean. I feel like you're talking to me as if I'm really stupid, frankly. I get it, the stuff you're saying, and
I don't
you're
think
not
anybody's talking
responding
to
to
you.
what I'm
The answer to
saying.
you-
I don't
No,
understand,
there
I
is
don't understand
no
why
such
you're
thing.
using
You're
this
not-
language.
you're
First of all,
not- you're
nobody's
not-
talking to me as stupid.
But you
so
are,
then why are
because
you
you're
using
not
this language? I don't
getting,
understand. Is this
because you're not
necessary?
getting what I'm saying.
That- so, that
You're
means I'm
assuming
saying-
that I don't know what
saying
you're saying. That's what bothers me.
Let me just stop.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would you even
Please
say
forgive
that?
me for saying this, but I didn't gather that at all, what he was saying. I think maybe there was a bit of miscommunication, but I don't think he was speaking down to you in any way, shape,
Okay.
or form.
All right.
That's not his style.
Perhaps
Maybe he does that to
I'm
me
oversensitive.
sometimes, but
We'll
I
put
don't
it that
think he
way.
was doing that to
Okay,
you.
so
Not at all.
what I'm suggesting is that why doesn't the group ask NYCGA, look, why don't you have an overall? Oh,
We're getting off topic here.
We understood you.
Yes, we are, because
Okay.
we're discussing our
I came
website.
actually to hear a
No.
speaker, so I
We
don't know why I'm
understood
getting
you,
into
and
this.
the answer is there is no such thing, and it's one of the shortcomings of OWS. Okay?
So then what do you do about it? You ask them, at least. They could say, no, we're too busy,
Well, I agree
That
with
was
you.
what I- that's where I was going.
That's a very good point, and I agree with you. However, that does not help us right now for our site because there's nothing uniform out there that we can use, and who knows when there will be. But do we need to wait on that? We need to proceed with our agenda, and however that ties into the big picture, maybe they turn on and use our platform for their. So I think right now, I agree with you, but we need to proceed on this front at the same time. Anything else? How can we help? What do you need? What can we do to move this forward? We need a web designer, is what
We
you're
need a
telling
designer.
us.
We need-
You have the structure of the site pretty much in place, right?
Yeah, but clearly, you go there, it's not clear when you look at the text. It's not clear what the links are. It's not. So we need a designer to construct something simple, not something.
And that's not what you do. You
No,
do
I
the
don't.
structure of
I
it.
code. I'm a programmer.
Right.
I code.
You can do it minimally.
Right. I could do a minimum. I could
Yeah, I understand.
an existing template and then code
Is
away.
there any way that we could go onto the NYCGA.net website to advertise for a web designer? I mean, to ask for, among our membership to see if there's somebody within
there is-
OWS who would be willing to help us? Is there any way to ask for that on the...
I think within tech ops and media, there should be somebody within that realm that between those two working groups that could that would be able to help us, right?
They're very slow to act. Apparently, from what they've been saying, tech ops is they're understaffed, underfunded.
They have
So-
other priorities.
They have other. I mean, they have other priorities. Currently, they're working hard on their new website, which might solve a lot of these issues. But people would have to attend those meetings, and I don't have time to attend those meetings.
Sounds like many IT departments in many companies. We're understaffed and we have our list of priorities.
Right. They have a lot of issues that they're currently working on the current website, and there are a lot of things that they need to update on the new website. New website might solve everything, and this will make this obsolete instantly, which is great. Which is what we need. We need a central hub. But
Okay. All right.
So
Well, I'll
and
keep
I don't
after
wanna-
Christian and see. You know, maybe he's out of the country again. I don't know, but I'll keep after him. I'll keep trying. I'll let you know.
No, I didn't hear the answer to, is there any place in NYCGA or within our own, a method within this group to say, hey, we need help? Anybody
Well,
out there?
that's what I'm. We would need to do outreach, not outreach, but just send either tech ops or media, and I'll do that. I'll send a message and see what the response is.
What about the 100 and something? Because it seems to me when I signed up, there were 123 people had signed up saying they were part of the group. Is there a way to contact them? No?
Our group?
Yeah.
There are
There's
500 and
something.
some members.
What?
It's 500.
Well, that's what I mean. That probably changed from when I signed up.
Okay.
Yeah, you know.
Those memberships, are, like I said elsewhere, are like a like on Facebook. Okay, which means that of OWS. That's how easy it is to click like, and that's all.
Mm-hmm.
That's not real.
So there is no way to contact
Do you know where
the people
healthcare
that.
for 99% meets?
No.
By any chance?
But not here and not there.
Definitely not there. Thanks.
So the answer is there is no way to contact the people that have said that they are
We could
part
do
of
it
this
on our
group.
forum. Couldn't we do it on our forum?
Yeah, we can post it. Anyone help us?
Oh, yeah, no, not only on the forum, on NYCGA, for
The main
general
page.
forum. On the front thing, you click, you word it properly, repeat it a few days later, and it will be on
Well,
top
that's
of the
that's
list.
what I was asking before. If there's just not even to.
See, because our
yeah.
form is when you click on
Right.
politics, the
But to
electoral
reach
form.
out to the membership as a whole.
Yeah, you can post it right on.
Post here, post there, post everywhere,
Politics and
post to our
Electoral Reform
subgroups. Okay?
Right. Okay. You want to
Why
do
don't
that?
we? Yeah. Why don't we try that?
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So should we hold off on doing anything further with the site until we get some type of a better design?
Well, if you can add any structure to it in the meantime, or if there's any structure that needs to be added in the meantime, then go for it. But if not, I mean,
I don't know.
See, if you
So-
want to wait, if you want to just wait a few days.
I have something I'd like to discuss.
Either
But
way.
I want to see
Sure.
where it might fit in the
Plain
agenda.
Jane
That's all.
I'm sorry, what?
There's something I would,
unpretentious,
but I want to see if I can find a
functional.
place where it fits in the agenda.
You make
what
a
is it?
list here,
Well,
a
I'm not
list
gonna- I'm
there.
not gonna say
you
put it
click
on the
them,
agenda
and that's
until I
it.
look
I
at
don't
the
want to waste
agenda.
my
better
time
than
because I know in the end it's not going to look good.
Yeah,
because I
oh,
don't have
not
the-
gonna look good, yeah.
I don't have the eye.
I understand. I'm talking about something that looks primitive but will work.
No?
Well, right now it works. It looks
But
primitive.
we do have it
We
is
do.
open.
You want
It's
to see?
available. No,
It's
no,
available.
it should be.
Since you haven't seen it, let me show you. Maybe
What would you like
it
to
should
add?
be. Is it on the front page of our?
it's not. We don't have a link to it
Okay.
yet.
When I saw
Okay, I'll believe you. Yeah.
people before parties,
I take your word. I know what
it's-
you're talking
it's-
about.
To me, who's been
But
involved
something
with
that-
electoral reform
that you don't
for
want
many
your name
years,
to
it's
be
like,
on anything that
whoa,
looks like
political
that.
parties is how
I
a
understand
democracy
that. I wouldn't want either,
gets
but
the people in the democracy
but
get to express
sometimes-
their point of view. So I mean, I don't want to start explaining it now, but that's what I was thinking. If it fits someplace, fine. If it doesn't fit, that's fine too.
We're going to get to that in a little while. Maybe
Yeah,
you can
you know
talk
what?
when
My
we get
point is that I didn't want to start this discussion if it didn't fit. That's what I was. I don't mean start a discussion. I didn't want to put it on as an agenda if it didn't fit
Do you-
the agenda already set.
Do you
up.
know if Tim got anywhere with the iPad?
He has a report back. Where's it?
He said he didn't buy it.
Right, he didn't buy it because.
We're I think $100 short.
Oh, right. But currently, right now, there's going to be another iPad coming out, so we'll see the prices drop on the other iPads. The model that for $299 is currently not available and hasn't been available for months, so it doesn't look like it will be
That's
available
one.
anytime
That's
soon.
iPad 1.
The iPad 1, the $299.
So
Refurbished
2 will
model.
drop as soon as 3 comes out.
That's what we hope. So
When's it coming out?
the rumor is coming out shortly, but those are tech rumors.
And iPad is the only tablet that's under consideration, yeah?
Currently, because that's the only thing I'm currently working on
Oh,
as
fine.
far as iOS devices.
Understandable. Yeah, we...
I can program other tablets,
No,
but
no. Forget it. If
No.
the skills are connected to that,
Okay.
let it be.
Anyway, let's proceed. You want to talk about the various voting methods? Maybe you can speak on this.
talking about IRV, STV, and
Right. Approval voting and range voting and all the other methods available.
I'm not that huge expert on those specifics because those are numbers specifics. The facts of electoral reform setting up so you can have a multiplicity of parties and a different system that we have is I mean, I can talk about that. I can talk about STV and IRV as.
I presented STV to them and they didn't like it.
We had at our meeting last week, if I'm not mistaken, had decided that we were going to focus on approval voting.
So why don't you go talk since you've done
And I
this?
thought we were going to. Well, at any rate, I brought this. I found this this website that showed examples of approval voting as compared to several other methods of voting, one-on-one.
What do you mean by one-on-one?
Well,
single
approval,
person selected?
approval versus plurality, approval versus range, approval versus ranked choice, that kind of thing. And what I found, well, actually, I would love for somebody to explain this to me. The first thing was, I'm sorry, let me backtrack for a second. Let me just read this couple of paragraphs to you because I found them very telling. Approval voting provides a better measure of popular opinion because AV allows voters more room to express their opinion. The election results provide a much clearer picture of voter preference among candidates, especially when third parties are involved. We kind of covered that last week. Approval voting allows voters to vote honestly because everyone can vote for as many candidates as they wish. Voting for candidates unlikely to win is no longer throwing away your vote, which I love. Also, approval voting by its nature makes it difficult to vote against a candidate, reducing the effectiveness of negative campaigning, which I also love. That was kind of missed in the paperwork that I brought last week.
You want to talk about also mathematicians. When they
the mathematicians, yes. Had what was the statistic on that? That overall mathematicians say that approval voting is.
Well, they use it for research also.
Will you say it then?
No, sometimes approval. The point is, those various methods are more suitable for some things than others. And don't say that in all occasions this is the best. Some of them are basically no good. First through the post, plurality is no good. Let's agree on that. Mm-hmm. Now, whether range voting, single transferable, IRV, they are related. IRV, approval or range have their own merits, and when you describe how any of them compares to first through the post, it's a non-argument. You have to discuss how they compare to each other when one is better and when the other one is better.
But you've got to narrow the conversation yet again because
Correct.
if you want to affect electoral reform and actually create a democracy in the United States, you're going to have to go to a multi-party system. And there are a variety of ways to go to a multi-party system. One of them is slates or multiple. In New York City, and from 1939.
Okay. Through the 1930s.
From the 1930s till 1947, we had multi.
Single transferable vote.
Okay. Am I allowed to finish, or do you?
I'm sorry.
Do you
Please,
interrupt me?
you do this.
I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah, I can't even think because you're doing that. So the point I'm trying to make is that New York City actually elected socialist and communist city councilmen, and it happened because of multiple districts had more than one party represented. So there's a proportional representation. So approval voting doesn't really have anything to do with that aspect. I mean, it's not that to say that approval voting is a good way to do things, or IRV, et cetera, but you've got to also consider what's your ultimate purpose, in enhancing democracy, or simply finding out the voter's single most important preference. That takes you back to the two-party system. And if you go back to the two-party system, even if you have IRV or with other candidates, you're doing something to affect that system. But at any rate, that's and you know what? That's really rude. Like this, you've got a stack taker. The first time you do it, the stack taker sees it. Then the rest of the time you do it, the person that's speaking is
what was I doing? I was twinkling.
He was agreeing with.
Obviously, I'm already somehow.
I'm sorry, Julia.
Uptight.
I was twinkling you up. I said I agree with her strongly, and instead of doing this, I do this.
We have to try to bring the temperature down just a little
I'm
bit.
sorry, Julia.
No one is attacking you. We were just
I didn't think that's what it was, because I'm used to a system where this means I want to speak. You do it, and the stack taker sees it.
I'm sorry.
And if you keep doing that, you mean shut up whoever's talking.
No.
Speak.
Julia,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, and I signaled the wrong thing to you.
You want to know what? Obviously, I'm new to this culture, and it takes a while to learn the cultural rules, so you'll have to forgive me.
Actually, I strongly agree with everything that Julia said, okay? And excuse me for butting in and thinking how I would say it. The point is that we are starting here with single member district and with officers that are elected directly by the people for dog catcher and mayor and governor. In a parliamentary system, you usually do not elect the chief executive, but the prime minister is selected by a coalition in the legislature. So sometimes there is room for a single person to be elected for something. I believe it is unfortunate when you have 30 names of people on the ballot for judge and for dog catcher and for this and for that, and for the people to come to an election to make sense as to who is who and what's what. It's best to have as few elections as possible so you can select people, and preferably by a proportional representation method, like Julia said. And let me finish. And what we are having here, alternative ways of doing single-member election rather than without considering proportional representation, which is fine. These are good message for that kind of thing.
Go ahead, you were talking, please.
I just was hoping that with regard to approval voting, specifically approval voting versus plurality voting, this website cites an example. Sorry.
What's the website again?
I can't see what I'm doing. Hold on. It was just... Well, it just says, you know what, if you can read the little legend at the bottom, maybe that says what it is.
Approval voting is intuitive and practical.
No, this.
Oh.
To say what the website is?
ID hop? Oh, Terciops? CC? No.
No.
www.
I could send it to you.
I'm sorry for twinkling.
I was interpreting that as
I don't know exactly what the website was.
I'm sorry.
In fact, it may have been. I'm going to have to go home and check. It may have been. I may have linked this off of another website. This may have been a link on a different on another website. But I'll be able to tell when I get home because it's still up on my computer.
But while we are looking,
Well,
I haven't asked my question yet.
let's stay on topic. We're talking about approval voting. So if you have something to add to that, I would appreciate if we could stay.
yes, prior to that, one question. I think that comparing any of them to plurality voting is a non-issue with us and should not be an issue with us.
Well, except that I have a question.
Go for it.
Okay.
One of the examples it gave was with simply 3 parties. The way they describe it is we have the same 2 major parties, so let's say Republican and Democrat, but also a third party, which they're calling the yellow party. They've got the blue party, the red party, and now they're introducing the yellow party in, which has a significant amount of support from members of both parties, but not enough to have any real chance of winning the election, which is what we often see in our current system. And then it shows what that would look like. This illustrates rather what is perhaps the greatest strength of approval voting, not a change in the outcome of an election, but a much greater gauge of public opinion. As any third-party supporter will tell you, your vote is not only a means of electing someone to office, but also a political statement. In our election, the Yellow Party didn't even make a peep in the plurality vote, but won 10% of the approval vote, making it known that, though small, they are a force to be reckoned with. And now here's where my question comes in. They show this pie chart. The blue party, the red party, and then the yellow party is split, because, or rather a certain segment of both the blue and the red, like this yellow guy here. But when they add up the votes, they list the yellow votes as being red and blue. I'm confused about how they're...
Yellow and also red, yellow and also blue.
Can I see that?
Which means there are people who are red, people who are blue, and there are people who are yellow red and yellow blue.
Well, also in approval voting, there is no favorite. You vote like... It has a good example here. If you give me one of those pages, I'll show you what I mean. This is what, in plurality voting or instant runoff, you vote for one. What is your favorite color? You only vote for one.
Right.
In approval,
You can vote for everybody.
you could vote for everybody.
But
That's
that's not true about instant runoff voting. I'm sorry.
We're not talking about instant runoff, though.
We're talking about approval voting.
We're talking about
talking
averting.
I got that, but I'm sorry. I'm just contesting something that Sam just said, which was he said in plurality or instant runoff voting, as opposed to you just
You vote for one person.
It's not true.
You can't vote for Obama and Bush at the same time.
IRV, you vote 1, 2, 3.
IRV.
And the first one.
IRV is not
Right.
plurality.
And I misspoke. In
Yeah, because it's a different...
plurality.
That's, I wanted to clear.
So you only vote for one in that system. In this, and that's how you can have this scenario where maybe you voted, I like blue a little bit, or I like this one and this one, because yellow, I think it said in here, is also representative of some of the qualities of red and some of the qualities of blue.
Can I make let's right now, specifically to this,
Yeah.
you realize that this is a system which ostensibly allows, it remains a plurality system. There is no effect on who gets elected by this. All it does is, say, replicate the system we have now and give some little voice to people to recognize, there is a third, and it's, in theory, what they're doing there is saying, look, we're still going to have a plurality system, we're still going to have two parties, and if there's a third party, that third party will get some public acknowledgement at the during the election, so that will in fact affect how the elected officials behave. It is not in any way a system that is going to get some representation for the yellow, if you will.
Of course it is, though.
No, it's not.
Of course it
They
is,
can't-
because that's where a third party comes in, and a viable
Not
third
true.
party. Yes,
Not
because
true.
that third party is represented. In our current system, there is no representation for a third party. It's like almost a kind of a...
Yes, and
well,
you
I don't
need
like either.
electoral reform in order to get that. And this is not going to do anything other than maintain the plurality system.
Okay,
That's
I
what's
disagree.
happening
How is
there.
that possible?
How
Please
is that
explain.
party? Because there's no... Let me explain. I'm
Please.
sorry. Okay. This system tells you right there, it's in the wording of it, that nothing is going to happen other than the fact that look, a real system. There are, an example, whomever Democrat, whomever Republican, and Ralph Nader Green. Oh, I love Ralph Nader. He's wonderful, but he can't win, therefore I can't vote for him. So the election comes up, and that's your choice. But if you have this approval voting, well, I still can't vote for Ralph. But I can. The same thing will happen, except that there'll be some public knowledge, an acknowledgement of how many votes Ralph got. So, IRV, Ralph, Al Gore, and so and so. Okay,
And Bush.
voter and Bush. Vote rank them. I hate those two top, but I'll rank Green. I'll rank Green 1, Gore 2, Bush 3. That's my thing. So we get to a place where did anybody get 50% of the vote? Anybody that got 50% of the vote, they win. 50% plus one, right? Everybody, they split this thing 40, and 20. Whoever the voters that ranked Nader, the 20% that ranked Nader, the next person they ranked, number 2, was Gore. So they're ranked, their number 1 ranked Nader drops out, but all the voters who voted for Nader, their number 2 rankings go up there, and that's how you get the representation. But if in fact the voters they don't really want Bush or Gore, they really want Nader, but they're not going to waste their vote in our plurality system. If they got to rank, they could afford to rank. I think the problem is that I'm verbally telling you something that you sort of have to see on paper.
We did it on paper.
You did the IRV on paper, and then you came up to,
and we came out that approval was the most closest representation of what the group was.
No, let me say something. What approval means, that you don't say, whom I like most and who I am like almost most, but who is really okay with me, which is one way of saying, and it does not indicate your strong feeling for Nader, for your okay, I must vote for him, okay? It does not, because both of them come equal on approval voting, and that's its weakness. However, let me take another example. 3 candidates for mayor. Julia, a real candidate. Giuliani, and Bloomberg. And it goes to the population. Let me tell you, people hate Giuliani in enough numbers that not that many vote for him. And then people love Julia but don't agree with her politics. But Bloomberg is okay with that. And many people in the middle are going to say, I love Julia, but Bloomberg is going to be competent. Or people say, I like Giuliani, but Bloomberg is also okay, and Bloomberg wins. I'm not talking about the individuals. And Bloomberg comes out on top. And it's really the consensus of the people, as much as I hate the consensus of the people, that says, with all the people around, enough of us can live with Bloomberg as much as we would love Julia or Giuliani.
Have you gone to Fair Vote site yet?
Yes.
You know them? Yeah, you have. Yes. And has anybody read Fixing Elections? Bob Ritchie's book? No. Anyway, this is a long road. This guy. So, if I could again ask the question I asked, but I didn't quite get it. At least it didn't an answer that made sense to me. I don't understand exactly why. In the context of what are you discussing the details of these exact methods of voting?
Why
Are
are we
you familiar
discussing
with the
it?
various voting
No,
methods?
I don't mean it that way.
You want to chime in? We're discussing approval voting. What do you think compared to other voting methods?
Approval is supposed to be a simpler version of range voting. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well.
0-1, correct.
Yeah.
It's 0-1. It's not range voting. It has nothing to do with range voting.
Right.
I prefer ranges. I prefer something that is not just yes, I like this, or no, because to me that doesn't really. I don't think that's really a natural decision-making method.
If it was, you're still talking.
That's basically it. That's
if it was up to me, okay, let's assume that there are 20 people who want to become mayor. I would have an approval voting selection to weed out the people who really do not have enough positive opinions about them, and I would be left with 3 or 4 or 5 who can really debate and narrow down the field and the confusion, and then go to instant runoff voting as the best solution. And in that situation, Bloomberg would still win because of the nature of the electorate. Not that I like it, but maybe a moderate Democrat may win instead, depending upon who is running. Approval voting separates the people whom people don't like about from people who they find okay, but doesn't tell you about whom they feel strongly. Instant runoff voting is better for that.
I know why I'm not asking the question properly because I haven't been here for this whole thing. What I can't get to my head is, have you already as a group discussed electoral reform that includes multi-party systems? Have you already discussed single-member versus multi-member districts, et cetera, or are we, as opposed, and now you're at this point, or is this where you started and you're going to go the other way to get to the larger issues of how we have a democracy?
Yeah, I mean, to me, what I wanted to add as far as what I get provoked by with, having various methods of voting is that it shouldn't also be just focused on persons, because we're not. First of all, we'll never get to know the person as well as we can as if they were sitting at this table. There's no access. There isn't a great level of access to the person. So the decision making in connection with the person, to me, I find it. I don't know what the word is for that, but mainly my point is that I like the idea of dealing with issue voting as opposed to person voting, because I think we can be more well-rounded and focused as individuals when we're like really wanting to study something, and like everyone here has their own interest as to why they're at the table and what we want to like contribute and what we want to learn more about and what we want to understand collectively and that sort of thing.
When you say issue voting, are you in fact referring to referendums, or do you know of some political system someplace that actually votes?
No, I'm not referring to anything that I can identify
so what
with.
system would you think
You mean ideological voting? Political
what you're
position,
saying?
That's my lack of understanding.
Political orientation
is multi-party system, essentially.
One of the problems that I found in my research with the IRV is an example that I brought up last week, was a mayoral election in Burlington, Vermont, whereby the candidate who came in, who it turned out, and I don't ask me to do the math because I can't, but it's in this article, that it turned out that the most popular candidate lost.
I'll tell you
and
why.
he dropped out. Well, it doesn't matter to me why. That's my problem with the system, that's possible.
I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you how to fix it. It also happened in the election for majority winner in the House of Representatives in the 1980s, where I forgot his name, won. Because the elimination method eliminates the person with the fewest first place votes. But if you take a border count to designate who should be eliminated, this solves it. She shakes her head, but you know it's a border count.
Yeah, because I know Peter Emerson.
Well, the question I would have is, what do you mean by popular? How does
well, maybe popular was the wrong word, but it was. Let me find the text in here, and I'll tell you what it was.
But also by border count. You do a border count, and you know who's most popular.
That to me is a key part of like.
Tell them about border count.
I'll be able to speak to it when I find it.
Instead of opinionizing on something, assuming we know.
It doesn't seem to me that these are esoteric.
Right, I know. Yeah.
first you have to solve the multi-party system.
We're going to do a little
And you
voting
do this by
again
proportional
so we can
representation
see
if you
Exactly.
can.
So that's
or
the
you
just
one that-
approach.
graphics because
Yes,
we
yeah,
did
you
this a
work on-
couple of
you work on
times
that.
No, but
already
people are
right
studying with the
here.
American system,
And
they know.
one of the things we
And they
came
ask,
up
how do I
with,
fiddle with it
I think a few weeks
to
ago
make it
was
more palatable? And I say, right on, I'm all for
majority
fiddling with
does not
But that's what
always
approval
win
does. It's
in range voting.
It's not
it. No,
real.
approval is not
You
fair,
can have
but
3 people who vote the highest range for a candidate out of 10. And because the points are higher, you would get a winner. But it's not the majority of the votes. And that's the part that that concerns me about it. Whereas in approval voting, it more closely mirrors what the popular vote or
No.
is
Approval voting sometimes mirror and sometimes tell you how many people are there in the middle who are acceptable to people as being the lesser of the evil.
We're going to do a little voting experiment right here amongst us, if it's okay. We're going to do, the first one is approval, and the second one is range. Good? You know how to...
I abstain from participating in
No,
it.
Oh, see, what I
you
was
can
going to
vote.
mention when you were commenting is exactly your response to what I started reading this. But the other thing that's interesting is that I would question how many people are not voting because of the method of voting. Who would abstain from voting based on this is how we're voting, everybody. Let's all conform to this. And then how many people abstain because of that?
I'm just curious. You're not willing to...
Because I think spending time on the details of range versus STV versus IRV versus approval, when you haven't dealt with the real problem in the United States, which is a two-party system, all you're doing is saying, well, there might be some out there in the world, there might be a third group that might have some effect on it. The claims of the interesting claims of how Ralph Nader elected George Bush, which is BS.
Fair vote started with strong support for single transferable vote, and somewhere midway, I don't know when, became proponent of instant runoff voting.
Yeah.
It's not comparing to that, even worse. The Working Families Party, because of necessity, became a fusion party. I'm a member of it, and I say it's the lesser of the evils and so forth. But not only do they function under fusion, they consider fusion to be a virtue. They campaign for fusion. You may know, they campaign for fusion to become the norm rather than being the lesser of the evil.
Do we want to continue with this discussion?
It's just a way to maintain the two-party system.
Yeah, they're becoming another failure of the two-party system. I agree with you.
Being that Tim is not here, we were going to work on text for the voting experiment. Do you want to move forward, or you want to just table that till next week, till he's here?
Text for the voting experiment.
Remember, we were going to write up a little something about each various method.
Right.
Do you want to table that for next week when Tim's here, or?
Why? We can start it and then
Okay.
bring him in.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm just.
The text for the voter or the text for the scorer.
Just to give well, that's all being discussed. What do we want to do?
No, because the text for the voter is very simple.
No, for the voting experiment.
For the
But what
experiment.
experiment? I know. You say list your the candidate in order of which you'd rather see them elected, or the flavors of ice cream in which you like it. Or so.
Right. So we want to work on that text. How would be best to present it
We
so it's
don't-
not confusing. So it's not. So it's
Well, we
clear.
also don't want to do anything that would influence or bias.
Right.
The results,
Right.
of course.
The way you ask the question is key.
Right.
All right. So we have 4 voting experiments, right? That's
Do all of them require ranking? Do all of them require ranking?
So there's 4 voting experiments. One of them is plurality. So,
Plurality.
how does
Well,
that-
that's the constant. So it's going to be the
That's the-
plurality versus the other 3.
Right. That's always the constant.
Excuse me.
Yes.
The voter it's gonna. If I were running it, I would say
Okay,
the voter.
so the voting-
list your preferences, and then we know that once number one is reached on the plurality, forget the others. But on the three others, the order does matter.
I don't know what you're saying.
I'm not understanding the question. So the experiment begins with the plurality. I'm gonna say it right one of these days. So it begins with that. That is the concept. It always begins, and then it goes. Then we have three other experiments. We have approval, range, and ranked.
Ranked choice.
Ranked
Right?
choice. Correct. Now, since 4 experiments we concluded that 4 experiments was too much for one person at a time. So we randomized the last 3. So out of the 3, only 2 of them are picked randomly.
Everybody's is going to vote twice.
It's going to be 3 times. The constant plurality, and then either any 2 of the 3 randomly. Okay.
Excuse
You got
me.
that?
Yeah, understood.
Okay.
For 3 of them, you can have just one election, just one response. Let me explain. For plurality, instant runoff voting, and approval, okay? Sorry.
Okay, so there's going to be options, either 3 candidates or 3 referendums or whatever.
Let me go. I'm thinking.
I thought you were done.
And I said, no, plurality, okay,
Yeah.
can be deduced from the others. The one who gets most points.
We're not getting up to that yet. Right now, we're just doing text on the experiment. This is what we're
I'm
doing.
thinking about how we're going to gather the data, how we're going to interpret that, analyze the data.
I'm sorry.
That is beyond
My apologies.
scope.
We're not up to that yet.
And let's later on. Histograms, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So, plurality.
Plurality.
At least I know how to
I
spell
practiced it at home, so I wouldn't trip over my tongue.
You have time.
I have too much time.
All right. Select your favorite. Should we? There's no need for history or anything.
I have a clarifying question.
Sure.
Is this about approaching how we the text that we're going to use when we actually approach the public and ask them if they want to participate in the experiment?
Right. So when we say we have these experiments and they have these voting methods, and what are these voting methods? Like, what are they? Well, this is the voting method. We want to produce a text, right, where it doesn't affect the vote itself. Anyway,
I think pretty much what we're doing is a brief, not description, but direction. In this, please rank your choices, or I mean, I think it's very simple.
Right,
what we're
description. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Right.
So we would
Am I
focus on
off
description, right?
kilter here?
That was
Instruction.
Is that confusing?
Yeah. Instructions for the most
Plurality
part.
is very
Clarification.
Whom would you
Right.
rather see as president? And which ice cream would you
It
like
had to be generic, I think. Maybe, right?
What?
Like it would have to be generic. So you don't
Who
want
is
to
your
see
top
the
choice?
text.
Who is your top choice? Among the following, who and what is your top choice?
Okay, how's that mean? Among the following, who is your top choice?
Who or what?
Which one?
No, if you are selecting
Please
people, it's
rank
who.
Oh,
If you
okay.
are selecting ice cream, it's what?
A choice. You could just say favorite choice.
So among the following,
You had some text right here, actually, on your. Where's the one you
among the
brought?
following, who or what?
Who, assuming you're dealing with human being, who is your
Is that the one that, no,
number
that's
one
an old one, that's an
choice?
old
Who is
one.
your top choice?
The
Who
new one
is
is.
your
Top
Is
choice.
that it?
top choice?
Is that hers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No,
I don't know
that's
what
an
you're
old one.
selecting yet, but
Never mind.
Oh, here's the new one.
All right, so are we doing something else or?
Sorry.
Looking for
No, it's okay.
some
I think-
existing example.
what does it say?
Okay, over here. So this is very
It's very
specific.
basic. I mean,
So should we
but-
do we need a generic sentence so we can apply it for anything we put in there?
No, the point is because who or what depends whether it's human or non-human.
Okay, so we have the first sentence. Among the following, who is your top choice? Now he said who can be changed to what?
Yeah, what? Because we're not doing people, are we?
We are not?
I don't know.
We,
Come on.
That doesn't matter.
I'm going to give them a choice between a famous anarchist and a famous socialist and a famous
Yeah, we can do
communist.
people.
Yeah,
Come
okay,
on.
sure, whatever.
so, Any objections to any among the following? Who, what is your top choice?
For plurality.
That's for plurality.
That makes sense.
Plurality.
Plurality.
It is a top. It is a top method.
Right. Okay.
Number one choice.
You okay with
I
that
mean,
one?
it could be any.
Yeah,
Top choice.
Okay, and then what are the choices going to be? We haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, we're-
Okay.
Or anybody select.
So among the
You- so
following,
let's-
who or what is your top choice?
Right, so again, we're working on the text for directions on how to vote, right? So when we say we don't constantly say things that would affect their, or would,
Right.
you know, so we say the same thing over and over. So that's what we're working on, right?
By the way,
Right.
Who, what,
Description. Or
we are working.
directions.
Yeah.
We are working on the question before we know the content. My content would have been among the following five. What do you think should be OWS number one action priority, or action priority or action goal?
Well,
That they,
That can be tailored later.
I mean, and people are going to list them, but that's going to be very good because there is no continuum like on a political spectrum from left to right. People are going to decide, in any crazy order. But
That was long. I don't know if we can write the whole that.
no. You put in a small sentence and say end corporate personhood.
Forget about that.
Establish
Yeah, I mean,
animal
that's-
rights,
I think
etc.
Let's go.
We're getting off topic
Away
again.
again. He loves doing that.
All right.
All we're
stay
trying to
focused.
figure out is the verbiage
Right.
for the question on
Plurality voting.
plurality voting, right?
Right. Correct.
Just foundation text.
Yeah.
Basic, simple, clear.
Right.
To me, it's say basic, simple, clear.
Yeah. Please indicate
Now-
your
What about
top.
this? Among the top choices, among the
Amount of choices.
among the following choices, what is? I want to get rid of the.
Or
who,
please
what.
choose one amount among.
How we get rid of?
Please
Yeah, you
select
can't.
the top.
Choice
please
among the
select your
following.
top choice among the
From
following.
the following.
I'm sorry.
Please select your top choice, your number one choice among the following.
Yeah, that seems
Good
to be
enough.
as simple as
Your
we get.
top
Right.
choice among the following.
Now, do we want to use actual candidates for that? Going back and getting the most screwed up people in history we could
I mean, I
find?
think it would be.
For
yeah,
what?
it'd be
So
interesting.
again-
It really depends how far you take
So these questions are not really questions; they're directions or directives, whatever you want to call them.
instruction.
The instructions, even better. About how. So should they be generic or should they be tailored to what the voting experiment is? Because if they should be tailored, then we shouldn't be working on this first.
Well,
think we
that's
should-
what I'm saying. Like, do we want to put?
Okay, so let's go for a vote. Generic. Who wants to do
I
generic?
don't understand the
instruction?
question.
Okay. So a generic is not specific. So we could take this piece of instruction and we could apply it to anything that we could apply it to candidates. We could apply it to referendums,
Right.
and we could apply it to
Right.
one candidate or 20 candidates or one referendum, 30 referendums. Doesn't matter.
We could say,
So that piece of instruction would apply to all of them. So that would be a generic piece of instruction.
Right.
Or we could be specific from the 5 listings, from the 5 douchebag candidates. Pick your worst, or your best. So that would be a specific instruction, tailored. That would be tailored instruction to that.
I think it should be
experiment
generic. That's my.
What do you mean by
gut feel.
generic?
again,
So I'll
itself.
just- what-
I'm not gonna really
We
find
just
generic.
created-
What's your
just
favorite
created-
color? Blue, red, green, or yellow?
What he just said is that the question that could apply to
Go
any.
generic, correct.
Among the following, what's your top choice?
okay,
Yeah.
so what is going to be
Or
the
we could-
choices?
So I think we should work this out. So what do we want? Do we want generic or do we want tailored?
I say generic to
I say
start.
generic.
Generic.
We can always.
If you can do generic, let's do generic.
Okay. Next question is though, what is going to be the topic of the vote or the subject of the vote? Are we voting on actual candidates? Do we want to do colors on all of them?
So-
do we want to do actual people? Do we want to do political parties, fascism, communism?
Well, so it sounds like you want to change the topic. It sounds like you want to work on the
I'd
actual
like to
experiment
do
itself.
one and maybe address it.
I have an opinion on that.
Go ahead, go for it.
I think the broader the broader the appeal of the topic, in other words, something that upon which everyone's going to have an opinion, the better our experiment is going to be.
Correct.
Well, go ahead.
Which is still a challenge.
To make people choose between Marx, Bakunin, Moses, and Jesus is not the solution. Or among the less few people who ran for president in this group. I would rather choose
another way of saying what you said.
Right.
I would rather choose
Yeah,
something. What is your favorite flavor of ice cream? Like Fair Vote did on its latest demonstration.
I just said that.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, here's what my opinion on
So,
this.
are we still working on the instructions for the voting?
Let's just try to throw some stuff around actual
So we have
voting.
four voting experiments, right? We have wording, we have verbiage for one, or instructions for one. We have 3 others. Should we finish the other?
I was going to ask.
Well, let me just ask one thing. Being that this is Occupy Wall Street, and there are a lot of topics and issues being thrown about, whether it's fracking or women's rights or things like that people feel very passionate about. Should we use that as a topic? This way we can get a little...
What do you mean that? What's that?
Like, okay, for instance, what is your... Instead of saying, what is your top choice or whatever, let's say, what issue do you feel strongest about in the movement?
Well, that's not generic anymore.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe we should just, because we
The
want
question
something
is,
that people feel strongly about. You know what I mean? That they can say, well, no, this is what, do we want political, finance or
But
whatever.
that affects emotions of people, and that will...
And that's what brings out...
But we're conducting a scientific... We want to conduct a scientific... So if you conduct a scientific experiment, you want to stay away from emotions. I don't...
We're testing the veracity of the system, not people's...
Right.
Not the answers to the question.
No, but we can use this same topic. Like, for instance, okay, can you rank these same choices in most important to least important? Yeah. And again, yes, you want scientific, but these are issues that people feel very strongly about. Feeling is an emotion.
So, should a piece use? So, the question is, should a piece of instruction elicit emotions? Because we're working on instructions.
You have to leave that up to the individual. We don't know.
No. So the questions itself, the verbiage itself, can it elicit emotions? Do we want emotions to be elicited during a piece of instruction when you're giving a piece of instruction to someone? Who's Stack?
I'm Stack. I have a
Yes.
We
We're doing Stack.
Julia, speak,
Sorry.
please.
I think in the context of attempting to get a range of views from a body, the people that are involved in this group, which is what you're doing this for, I take it. Is that correct?
We're not looking for a range of views. We're looking to
We are
see
testing the
what we're
system.
testing
I
the
was just going to
system.
ask
What?
a similar question. What is the goal? It really depends on
We're
what the
testing
goal is.
various voting methods.
But that's
to see
what
which
I
is
mean.
most-
I understand. It's just when we bring about our,
Very
we have
academic.
a view of a more elaborate, more specific to the movement kind of thing. That still, to me, the question is still posed. I think that's a legitimate idea. However, when I start thinking, what is the goal in connection to, and there's a similar question goes to generic instruction. What is the goal? What are you going? What are you?
That's the point
when
I
you
was
generate
attempting to make,
something-
which is why are you doing this?
Okay. So
They are doing it
Because
for-
why you're doing it will determine what your language should be.
We're
I
trying to
completely
see.
disagree. So in a scientific experiment, if you already have your conclusion, then it's not a scientific
No.
experiment.
The scientific experiment is to determine
So
something.
we have a hypothesis. The hypothesis is that there are other voting methods that are far superior to plurality.
But it's
Yeah.
still
They don't need us
different.
for that. Academicians have done it.
That is the hypothesis.
I
So
feel
we
like-
cannot,
I feel like I told
we
you
cannot
to-
draw
you know,
I like the
conclusions from
game.
that, right?
I don't. I
Is
guess
that
that's
confusing?
it.
I like the
look,
game.
I'm sitting here and I'm hearing a group of people discuss creating something.
Right.
And I'm saying to myself, I don't understand what this group of people's purpose is in creating this. That isn't obvious to me.
Let me
but
speak.
wait a
Maybe I
minute.
can
But
say.
assuming that the purpose of the creating this is to either elicit more people to join the group or elicit what the people
Let
in the
me-
group
let me-
think, wait, let me finish, what they think is the most appropriate way to determine a voting, etc. There's a lot of things it could
we
be,
have a
but
slide?
I was getting at something with all of it. Instead of being done, you're going to chop everything I say up before I get to what I'm getting to, which is that I was going to support Sam's suggestion about issues, because if you want to find out what people think, is that your goal? If it's your goal, then you give them something they care about. And there's more likely to be that they care about issues, since it's the population you are addressing is Occupy Wall Street population, correct?
Can I speak to her?
You're up next.
So,
Okay, here's. I'm going to start from the beginning. We have a draft document that was consented upon, the people before parties. We're taking that document and addressing each subheading individually. The first one we started with was the various voting methods. We've been discussing for the past few weeks the various voting methods, and we did little group votings, and that's why it would have been nice if you participated, because it's nothing. We're not going to.
Try to answer.
Anyway,
You're going off.
so
could I say something?
wait,
Yeah.
let me finish, please. We have about 4 different voting methods that we've been bantering about. We want to see within this group, doing a little experiment, which one of those voting methods is best representative, or can give us the data that's better than plurality voting.
Okay.
And so that's where we're headed with this. Right now we're trying to come up with ideas on how can we best elicit honest responses, whatever.
I got that.
Yeah, that's-
I got it to
that's-
begin with, and it's what I was
Jason's on
supporting.
The other thing is that this is supposed to be an experiment, which requires actually doing the experiment. So I think to flat out just say and make it simple, not just for simplicity's sake, but for my point, which is starting out generic, and then actually doing the experiment, and then working with that data. But the other thing I'd throw in is, let's say ice cream, since he keeps bringing up ice cream, if we want to have a vote on ice cream, I think let's say ice cream is going to be delivered to this entire population that's going to be here on a Sunday. Sunday is ice cream day. We're all going to vote on what kind of ice cream we want. Not that we have to have one ice cream, but let's just say, for argument's sake, we're just going to vote on one flavor. We should have all voting methods used to generate the data for that, not choosing one particular method, but using all the methods for the data to choose the ice cream.
That's why I was saying. I'm sorry.
So, to try to answer your question, right?
The
What is
question
our
has
goal?
been answered. I
right?
got it.
You got it?
Yes.
It's a
Okay, I agree with Julia. Unlike Julia, I like playing this game, but that's not why I came to OWS. This is why I come to this working group, because you are playing the game, and it's a game that I like to play. And now, to begin with, there is oodles of literature that tells you what those things are about, their benefits and disadvantages, and their history and their politics. We do not have to do it here, especially with our limited academic resources, to replicate not terribly well what many academicians have been doing. Also, depending upon what you measure, different voting methods work, depending upon the society, the political system, the office, whether it's ice cream or whether it's a mate. Therefore, what you measure would come differently in the results if you measure different types of things. One other thing. Fair vote is not doing that thing, I think, for instance, runoff voting on ice cream. We do not have to do it, and you can see how they do it. We do not have to replicate.
Okay, here's.
Julie's on stack.
thought I said my name.
Okay. Now, I actually finally have an answer to the question I asked at the beginning, and if Sam, you recall, I said, no, don't put it on the stack. That was my mistake on the agenda. I saw this People Before Party slogan, and I was concerned about it because my own concerns have to do with the larger electoral change needed in this country. So I was trying to get to understand the single, the focus on particular voting methods, which essentially address not a multi-party system, but a single vote. And now I get it. The decision has already been made that this group right now is going to focus on methods of tweaking the system we have, because that's essentially what, not that it's a bad thing to tweak, God knows it needs more than that, but tweaking is a start. But it's not my particular interest, let's put it that way. So, I've spent a lot of time off and on over the years examining these methods and so forth and so on. I mean, I know where they go. So it's just to make clear that I don't object to anything you're doing, and I might participate. I came because I wanted to hear the Brennan Center guy, and the other thing is, and I'm not walking out because I don't like what you're doing, but I have to be uptown in 15 minutes. So I'm glad I got a chance to say that.
Point of information is that this is one particular thing.
Yeah, I get it.
Well, I don't feel like you're expressing that you get it. I feel like there's a lot.
Yeah,
I feel like you're narrowing the focus of the group when there's a need for narrowing focus, even though within a broader context there's a lot of narrow focusing on a broader context. So I feel like
that's my point. I understand that you have now made a decision: people versus parties, or before parties.
Sam's on staff.
That's all.
Sam.
No,
One particular
If we ask people about ice cream or colors or things like that, we're going to get one response, and people will participate, I'm sure, because they know that we're doing something and we're trying to get information, and everyone will participate. But if we give them actually something that they feel and they've thought about, I mean, I'm sure everybody's thought about what color they like and what kind of ice cream they like. But if we give them something, let's make this as real as possible. Why fuck around with ice cream and colors when we really trying to? And we could also take this information and publish it and say, well, we did an experiment. We did a survey of 100 or 1,000 people or 200 people or whatever, and this is what Occupy Wall Street. And even if we just publish that data, maybe other groups can get something tangible out of it for their own group, rather than, politics and electoral reform stated that, most occupiers prefer red, or vanilla, or whatever. And I think, so if we're doing this, let's try to get some actual tangible evidence and information out of it that we can also take and maybe do something else with it down the road.
I put myself on stack.
He has a question?
Yeah.
You didn't put me on stack. Okay, can I get on stack?
You're on.
Just a quick question is, I agree. I think there needs to be a compromise. I think my question is, why can't we do both things? Why can't we do something simplistic, and why can't we do something that is more involved, that people have involved themselves, invested themselves in? I completely agree. At the same time, I feel like we should do both. However, I would also, my second question would be, is that going to taint something? If you give more than one, is it going to taint it based on the concern about emotions? The question be, will the emotions of one taint the non-emotion of the other? So I feel like I'm kind of in conflict. I want the compromise, but I'm also in conflict with the question.
I'm actually going to go back to your point of answering the question, what is it that we want from the experiment? Right. And to my mind, what we want from the experiment is to have a clear vision of what each of these methods, how each of these methods stacks up against plurality voting, and which one of them represents the will of the populace the best. That is a clinical, non-emotional experiment. I don't dislike what you're suggesting. I just think for our purposes, it muddies the waters a little bit. Done.
Yeah,
Who's next on
You're
stack?
on.
Can I get on stack?
You're on. You're on
Oh.
stack, but you're next. I think.
No, he's next, and then I'm
Oh,
after.
Stefan, you're on. You're next.
Sorry.
I'm next.
Yes.
Oh.
You're up now.
Yeah. So, right. So, you said pretty much right. I want to focus on the scientific part, not the. Once we have the data, and of course we will have also a voting platform. Then we can use it internally for our purposes. But right now, I don't see it as a platform to solve, how to get funds allocated to a certain event or action. I don't see this platform as serving that. I see it as serving as a scientific purpose for us to push an agenda in order to change or to reform, not tweak, but to reform the system, the electoral process itself. And then we can do that if we have data. We have, our data. We have data that we research that we do. We can put all that together and we can push for something. That's how I see its purpose. Not as, but of course we can use it later on. But
It's on.
Yeah, going with Sam's suggestion about issues. Number one, we should try distinct but non-polarizing issues. For instance, I listed nationalize the banks. Okay?
But that's a polarizing. Sorry.
It's polarizing. Okay? Impeach Obama. No. I mean, there are people who are pushing for it around here.
No, I agree. I don't think we should have a president.
No. If I'm giving you polarizing statement.
Yeah.
I said I was quickly for relatively non-polarizing. I've been sitting over there on vision and goals, so I've been learning what's less polarizing. For instance, less corporate power in society. Okay, work for a sustainable environment. Okay, justice for all and non-discrimination, etc., etc. Okay, promoting direct democracy. I wrote it down. Is a relatively polarizing subject. So we can go and determine things on which we all agree, but very different. Sustainable environment is not the same as controlling corporate or limiting or corporate power. So the one on which we can agree but are distinct would be good choices.
I was after it.
Okay, that's it.
Sam.
somebody smacking the back of the head.
I'm just trying to think how to
It's all right.
formulate it. You're 100% right, and we can't polarize, and we don't want it to be. It has to be tangible. I don't mean. No, wrong word. I apologize. We need to come up with something that says that people within here feel strongly enough about that they vote honestly and passionately about, and I think that's yes, we're going to do more. Hopefully, do more experiments down the road, but why not use this time? We've put a lot of time throughout the course of this. Let's put something out there that's that brings attention to the issues. Show that politics and electoral reform is working on something tangible, something important, and maybe bring attention to our group at the same time. If we sit there and we throw out, what's your favorite baseball team or whatever, people are like, what the fuck is politics and electoral reform doing, I mean, but if we throw out something that says, well, something a little more, and it doesn't have to be something polarizing or whatever, but maybe we can find some happy medium there that's draws attention to...
Clarifying question.
Are we conducting this experiment just within the confines of OWS, or are we going out into the public into Union Square Park and stopping people on the street and asking them to participate in this experiment?
We don't know.
Can I answer that? Well, one of the things we discussed prior was, first of all, just doing it around here on a Sunday afternoon. Two is actually when we have marches or whatever, doing it at that point too. So that's what I'm saying. You know, if we were doing a rally like we have February 28th coming up, and we have all these people that are so politically engaged, socially engaged, whatever you want to call it.
29, 28.
28th is
28.
we're planning an action. Nobody seems to know about it.
I only know the 29th.
Well, I'll get to that in a minute.
Who paid for this?
So, again, when we go to these people and we say, well, hey, you know, we're doing a voting experiment to see how these various voting methods are, let's give them something to vote on. What do you feel strongly about? And people vote more honestly, I think, if they feel very strongly about a situation or event or whatever. How can we? Anyway, I don't want to continue hashing this. It would be nice if we could say, all right, do we have any suggestions what we can vote on?
I think I have a solution. I think my next
Go
step.
for it.
I mean, I think we could do both. I
So,
think
let's
for
do
sure
it.
we could do both. I think we use one as the control, right?
He's bribing. Vote for me and I'll give you $2.
Nuts.
Sorry.
Throwing in for the nuts.
Oh,
Whatever.
no, they were my treat.
You treat, but I've been eating most of it.
That's
I feel
okay.
guilty.
No, I'm.
Oh, we know
I
next
won't
time to
take
put him on this side of the table.
But anyway, so we could do both. But so can we go back to creating the instructions? Because
the
we
content
I
is
think,
going to
I think
affect.
I think we agree that it's going to be generic, right? The instructions.
Well, no, but the content is
No,
for the voting.
we didn't agree that it's going to be.
I think we
The
should
content,
do both.
the
Because
content
we're
is going to
talking about solutions.
affect the instructions, I think.
No,
No?
no.
No, it's generic. No.
Okay,
We
all right.
agreed.
The instructions should still remain generic.
Okay.
Oh, which means then I do.
No, you're right.
On issues, which are the most important societal issues, or which one should be the top priorities for WF? Those are specific questions, rather than which ice cream flavor do you like most. I mean, the questions cannot be generic. I'm
All
sorry.
right, on approval voting, I'm sorry to. Can we?
Yeah, we can create both. I just think we should create both, and we'll have both. Then we can decide on what we think works. I mean, creating something needs to be done. I think we can talk about everything all the time, all day, forever.
Right.
But we need to create. I think. That
All right. So what would be the piece of instructions on approval voting? How would you? So
Approval voting is...
and elements, whatever that means. And elements meaning it should be generic, right?
Generic,
I'm
I
sorry, we're
cannot-
to get the text for approval voting?
Well, and instruct. So we give somebody a
General.
platform, right,
Right.
to vote, and right
What's
now
a
they're
generic
doing
approval
Oh,
voting
okay.
text?
Okay.
Should we say like a stupid, just approve or disapprove?
No.
Should we put stupid in there?
Which colors do you... Approval is picking a...
Yeah,
out
which of the following do you like?
Yeah.
No.
I like all of them. I think approval voting to me is
On ice cream,
is not even a
you give
correct-
me ice cream, I'll eat it.
not even a correct title for that method. in
For the
my mind.
method?
I actually think that approval and plurality should be switched. I think that because there's a plurality. You could
Yeah,
say, I
yeah,
want
yeah,
all,
yeah.
I approve of all five. But I also, there's a plurality.
Well,
But-
It's not
unfortunately,
your
That's
technical
a,
guy.
no, I
That's
just
not
mean
the
it's that's a side thing. But I just think
No,
I think
let me
term
give you
approval is kind
let
of
me give you
really vague sometimes.
should
Well,
it
you're
be should it
approving
be
of all the candidates you
approved?
like. That's why they...
Yeah, I
vote.
understand the method.
Yeah.
I just think the term is
I can
still-
give you a non-generic.
No, we're looking for generic because we decided that it's going to
You
be
cannot do
generic.
generic on
We can
approval.
do generic.
How?
We decided that it's
Well,
going to be
let's-
generic.
let's move on.
The
Let's
piece
not-
Of which one do you
I think we need to
approve?
create. We can create both. We can create what you want. We
Right
can
now,
create
we're working on generic because we decided as a group
Right.
that we're
I'll
going
be
to do
back in a
generic.
second.
Okay.
Pissed
Work
off.
No, but actually, we can create everything. We can create 3 examples generic and 3 examples non-generic. But if we keep arguing and discussing, we're never going to create
Select each of the following, no,
Select.
no, just strike that.
anything. Yeah, it's difficult.
So should we use the word approve?
Check each one, no.
But there's no check. At least it
How
could
about,
be.
of which of the following do you approve?
Please select the
Of which
candidates.
of which of the following
I
do you
think
approve?
select.
Yeah.
Select?
Please
Select can be done for everything.
Right.
So you are selecting. We can select for
Right.
all or select.
Please
Can you
select
select
your
none is also a question. Can you select none?
right. Please select
So it's
Please
from the
select-
list below.
Or from the following again.
Or
if
from
you
the
want to
following.
continue.
so you have to imagine that it's when you go to the platform, right? You're gonna see a screen, and you're gonna see a list of items vertically.
We met it from the over there.
You could say all. Please select all of the following.
So, I'm sorry, two people talking to me at me. What, Jason?
With what I'm following up what he's saying is that you could even have like, because since it's plurality, you can select more than one. So you have that's instructions, right? That there's more than one. So it would be, please select all of the following, and then I don't know what the continuation is.
So when you go to the screen, you're gonna see a list, right? And you're gonna select a button, either approve or disapprove. Approve or disapprove, and over here is a list of candidates. So the piece of instructions would guide the individual to select all of them, either make a choice on all of them.
Well, no,
Or
because
some,
approval
at least one.
voting, you don't disapprove. You just approve.
Approve.
You could disapprove.
No.
No, you can't.
No. No.
Normally, if you leave it blank, you disapprove.
Right.
There is no in between.
No,
Right.
there's 3 states. Actually, there's 3 states. Okay, this is
Neutral.
Yeah.
so there's no vote, but it requires at least 1 or 2. I have to go
No,
back
that's
into the
range
No,
logic.
voting,
that's
you think.
range.
No,
Yeah.
it requires that
No.
you make a selection on one of the lists. I
Yeah,
have to go
I
back
mean-
to the logic of the code, but anyway, there's a null state, meaning none. You didn't do anything. You didn't approve or
That was my
disapprove.
question. Can you not select any?
Yes.
Yes, but it's either
There's
you
a null
select or
state,
don't select.
then there's approve or disapprove state. I approve, I disapprove.
No.
But that's not
Because-
how approval voting
No,
works.
that's not it.
Well, that's
No.
how it works in Spain because that's
No
how we
question.
decided it would work. But
No.
of course, this is one system.
right.
This is one
Well,
model.
that's
No.
thing, that-
See,
that
what
could
you're
be
thinking
Then let's
of-
not panic.
No.
Yeah,
What,
there
you,
could be
what
both.
you're thinking of is range voting,
Not
where
exactly.
you can put an X for no points or whatever.
No.
Approval is you either check or leave blank.
Right.
That's it.
So you're gonna have to change your.
Yeah.
The question
No.
too is,
So,
will that be included
there's different-
as another method?
There's different
I
models.
get
So
it, that's
the model
right.
that we adopted. So we created this model with the individual. Her name is Kay. She
Right.
works in the industry of voting. So she actually generated the model, and I coded the model that she created. So this is the model that she created. So
Cool.
of course, if you want to, Kay, she's no longer here, but she works in the field. But anyway, she created the model, and I coded the model. So this model currently stands like this. It's a null state. There's 3 states: the null state, or the empty state, whatever you want to call it, the approved state or disapprove state. And it has to be at least one selection made for any of this list.
Okay.
So
There's nothing wrong with this method per se, except that approval voting, as usually practiced, is yes or blank.
Right.
This is how it works. You want to
that's what
develop
makes me
another
understand
version
this
of approval, and it looks to me like a 3-point range. You give it 3, 2, and 1, or 1, 0, and -1. Okay, and you weigh them by range because what you can measure, by the way, how strongly a disapproval a person had, or how strongly an approval a person had. But this is already somewhat of a range, okay? So it will measure something else. To compare that for election, I do not know how to compare it for election unless you make it something like a range voting system.
And my question would be, would we include these two methods? Would this be another method? Would we have approval as in just approve, leave it blank, as one method, and then this 3 selection?
there is no 3 selection.
No. Well,
There
this
is
is
only 2
Three
selections.
options. Three
This
options.
is
There is
If they
no
have
3
to-
options.
There is. There's
There is-
none, there's disapproval.
no.
you
This
don't
is
choose on
similar
the null
to.
state. The null state is automatic.
This is similar
the
to.
default state. Is you
It's
don't
not
make a choice in that
plurality.
state.
Being misunderstood by my
Range.
question.
It's similar to range.
Similar to range, yes. So and we already have range on
It's a
there,
3-point
so-
range.
There's no-
Right.
So either you show up to vote or you don't show up to vote. The question is that an option? Do I have, if I want to get up, so you can consider plurality as having two options, not only one. First of all, do I decide to get out of the house and go to the voting booth and actually conduct the voting experiment? I'm saying that's not an option, right? That's the null state. That is the state that is the default state, right? Then you make the choice to get up and go to conduct the experiment. Is that a choice? That's part of the voting? You can consider that part, right? It's the same thing here. So the null state is, did you want to stay home or did you want to get out of bed? That is a null state. Okay, so that's not really a choice. You're going to have to vote, right? So the only choices are approve or disapprove. That's the way the model was constructed. So of course we could default to disapprove.
Yeah, he has two on
The two is fine.
Yeah, we could default to disapprove.
See,
and then which is blank, and then you just approve.
Right.
well, the thing is, though, Stefan, is
This is the model. So we could change the model. That's not a problem.
Well,
This
we
is the
need
model as it
to
stands.
because we want to not only give people different choices, but we want to educate them also at the same time. Well, this is approval voting. This is how it works, and let them know. This does not do that.
Does not do what?
Educate people to approval voting, because approval is either you approve or you disapprove, and we want to
No.
educate people.
Either you approve or you do
or
nothing.
you do, right, or you abstain.
Or you abstain.
That's why it's
Right.
called approval.
Right. So we want to let people
Let our approval
let
looks.
people be familiar with specific options that are available. And if we tell them that this is approval voting and it's not approval voting, then we look like we don't know what we're talking about. You know what I mean? So let us stick to the
Stick to
the
what?
format
What
for
is the
now.
model?
To the conventional approval voting, the way,
right.
So are you
look
saying
and feel.
that the model that this lady Kay she brought about is incorrect?
is
Not-
incorrect. It is.
No, it's not
It's
the
not that
most
it's
commonly
incorrect.
used
It's not-
one. They're not saying it's
Yes,
incorrect.
it is incorrect because it's not approval voting.
It's not
Call
the
it what
most
it
commonly used approval voting. It's
Approval / disapproval.
So I have
not
a
what
question
your
now.
article
Are there
says,
different models of
correct?
approval voting?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well,
not that
now
Tim
you
has
are
told
aware
me,
of two models.
Not that I've
I'm going to
seen-
give you Brahms and whatever his name's book on approval voting. I'll bring you the text.
No, don't bring the book. Just bring the citation.
No, I have a full book over there
I don't need the
on
book.
approval voting.
I have to
So-
leave in a few minutes. Do we want to continue with this? Do we want to
No, I think we should stop.
stop and go to next
I think we should stop.
week? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to the thing?
Uh-huh.
Where is it?
27th Street.
27th Street.
You're talking about the February 28th?
Yeah.
It's 27th Street,
27th and what?
between 6th and 7th. Jump on the A or the C, it takes you right there. You going? Don't make me go by myself.
All right, I'll go back.
What's over there?
Oh, by the way, just a piece of information. I could be wrong about the model. I mean, it's been a long time since I coded it, but I don't think so. I think this is.
She
This is what I
knows that
recall.
there are various methods. That's why I'm not saying
Those
you're
are the various models.
wrong.
But I have nothing against this method. It's just
Same in the method.
not what approval voting
You
is
tell him
commonly
it's
known to be.
thank you.
Okay.
You listen to Uncle Itzhak.
I could have just wasted everyone's time.
Yeah,
I'm sorry
I
if I
think
did.
But the question
I don't
still
think so.
remains of what would be
But
the
I like approval voting in
Right.
some cases.
So this meeting is over.
The meeting's adjourned.
Can we continue on this and
Do we
finish
have any
it?
announcements?
Well, I would ask
Anything-
what's going on the 28th.
Okay. One thing before you.
I would say continue the generic.
We are going to definitely. Would you be joining us? No.
I'll definitely try.
I'll try.
I was late today, but at least
No. It's good. It's cool. February 28th is a call to action, a mass action against.
Oh, that's the suppression?
Stop
Right.
the suppression of
Okay.
Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah. It's going to be 4 p.m. in Union Square, 5 p.m. rally, 6 p.m. march.
4 p.m. gather, 5 p.m. rally, 6 p.m. march.
Right.
March to where?
To Zuccotti Park, to One Police Plaza, to Foley Square. We're going to
march.
go just sightseeing that day. Maybe reoccupy
Nice.
the park.
Oh my God, I'm tired. That was an exhausting meeting.
That wasn't
Yeah.
exhausting.
Oh
That
my
was.
God, those two are. You think of with their old.